Hey friends, it's Jessi Moon Six, your sister in the craft. Recently I posted a video getting vulnerable and talking about some more difficult things, and then I took it down, then I put it back up, and I took it back down, and it's back up for now. But I was having a very real battle with my shadow, as I do a lot of times when watching these videos back, and this channel has acted as a very real tool for me on my shadow working journey. And I am working on a very, very big project that I wasn't actually intending on sharing. It was something that I had kind of been working on in the background, but I made some huge discoveries, and it really gets into shadow work. So I decided for today I was going to be kind to myself and stick to something that I know is a little bit easier for me to talk about. And that is my Sacred Herbs and Spices Legend and Lore series that I had started. The first herb that I did was rosemary. If you missed that, I will link it below. And today I'm going to do sage, because I think it is something that is used within a lot of people's practices. It is a very sacred herb to many different cultures and backgrounds, and there's a lot to cover there. So I'm just going to unpack just a few of the legends and lore surrounding the sacred herb of sage. And as I did with my last video, a lot of this is coming from my herb book from John Lust, and also the Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine. Sage has been used as a flavoring and a medicine since prehistoric times. Sage's genus name is Salvia, which comes from the Latin word salvio, meaning I am well. Then according to the Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine, it says that salvia comes from salvere, meaning to cure. But either way, I am well or to cure, it still has that healing root in the name. It has the purpose within the name. And this is because this was an herb that was highly regarded, especially for its medicinal qualities. Sage was really thought to be a safeguard to health. And since ancient times, because of these more healthful and medicinal qualities, it was even once believed, like rosemary, to increase one's longevity of life, making one live longer. There was a saying, "He that will live for aye must eat sage in May," stating that it was best eaten before it bloomed, that this was the best time to eat it for increased longevity. And there was also an ancient Arabian proverb that asked, "How shall a man die with sage in his garden?" So it was really, like I said, believed to be this safeguard to health, to increase one's life, and to really just be beneficial in the aspects of health. There was even a quite ridiculous claim by a 17th century author that stated something along the lines of a brave dose of sage would cause immortality. So there's that one. And like I mentioned with rosemary, and there are quite a few parallels between these two sacred herbs, but like I said with rosemary, sage was thought to flourish outside of the homes, where the woman was the boss or the ruler of the home, so to speak, that kind of wore the pants of the household. And to go with that, there was a saying, something along the lines, "If the sage thrives and grows, the master's not the master and he knows." But in other folk belief, it was thought to be vice versa, that it flourished when the man was running the house. So I'm not sure how or where it got changed along in history, but there were those different beliefs varying from different folk traditions and different backgrounds. And just like with rosemary, because of this belief, it was said to cause some men to go out and mutilate the poor sage plants, uprooting them, making it seem weaker or smaller, or just getting rid of it altogether. There was also a connection to sage and graves, or funerals, I should say, that because the sage leaves were slow to wither, they were thrown into burial sites at the end of a ceremony with the beloved parted one. There was also folklore that suggested an English girl could pick 12 gray-green sage leaves on the night of Christmas Eve, and with this she could conjure up an image of her future lover, but only if she left the bush or the plant uninjured. So that was a cool one, I thought, used for divination. A lot of times you see sage as a purifier or a cleanser or related to health, but this one was one I hadn't seen yet before, used for divination. And as you probably already know, sage is commonly used for cleansing in many different backgrounds. All in all, there are about 500 species of salvia or sage. So there are many different plants within this family. So there are many options of using. I had no idea how many there were until I started looking into them. Some of them endangered, some of them grow wild and freely. So that's something to take note of when incorporating this plant into your practice. And as with any plant, I always try to encourage, if it's something that you can grow on your own and you have the ability and the space, I really find that with the plants that I grow my own, just having that much more connection and respect to the plant, and that can be a powerful element in and of itself to incorporate into your practice. So I always try to encourage you, if you can. Some plants are trickier than others to grow, but garden sage is a great one to have and to have on hand. And it can be used for cleansing just the same as white sage, for instance, which is a more endangered species and is more sacred to some traditions. So sage is powerful to incorporate in any spells or rituals to do with bettering your health. Like I said, by the ancients, it was believed to be a highly medicinal plant with a lot of health benefits, increased longevity. So if you're feeling ill or kind of under the weather, it can be a good time to burn some sage. If you're sensitive to the smoke, you can use a spray cleanse, which I'm actually getting ready to be uploading a video on next. So there are many ways that you can incorporate sage if you can't burn it. And it also can be used as a flavoring in your food. It can be good luck to plant your own sage as well. It can be used as kind of like a sympathetic tie for your health, for good health, kind of trying to nurture that, plant that seed. And it is said that planting sage is supposed to benefit you in giving that long life and good health by having it around and having that energy and that connection to the plant yourself. Medicinal uses that we know for sage today are for things like sore throats, irregular periods, and even digestive problems. And some even use it as a gently stimulating tonic. So we know it clears mucus, it's estrogenic, and it can act as a nerve tonic in a sense. I also should note that if you do plan to use sage for its medicinal properties, you should not use this plant if you're epileptic or if you're pregnant. And as always, I'm not trying to give anybody any kind of medical advice. These are just simply different things that you can use sage for. Sage can also be used for bites and stings. If you have a bite or sting, you can take a sage leaf and rub it onto the bite and sting because of the oils on the leaves. Throughout history, sage was also used by women who were trying to quit breastfeeding, that were weaning, because it helps to kind of stop that milk supply. So there are so many different uses for sage, medicinally and throughout history and spiritually and culturally. So it's a very versatile plant, and there's a lot that we can learn about it. This is just the first of it. But I thought that it was an important plant to cover. I'm trying to cover some of the more common ones first before we get into some of the more obscure ones. And I know originally I said that I was going to be doing this series once a week, But in all honesty, between my health and all of other life's issues, if I do one a week, we just won't ever get to talk about anything else. And like I told you in my last video, if I leave it up long enough for any of you to see it, I want to be able to start exploring some other topics. I want to start working on some of the interviews that I have planned, and I just recently made, like I said, some really crazy discoveries while doing some ancestral work. So I am really excited to work on that and just dive into some other topics. I love doing the how-to. I love doing these kind of informative type of videos, but I'm excited to explore some more things with you guys, especially the interview portions. I feel you can learn a lot from reading books and PDFs and things of the like. But I feel when you talk to somebody about their personal experiences or how they do things, you just kind of get it's just a different experience, a different kind of connection. So I'm looking forward to sharing some of that with you, of my own and of some of what my friends have to offer and share, because I think that will be a really great tool and resource for a lot of people. Thank you so much for supporting me and coming back to watch these videos and just kind of writing this out with me while I try to figure it all out myself. So I appreciate you. Thank you for your time. And until next time, my friends, bless.